Hi, everybody. Happy Sunday. So, this is my mic is on. Yes. Okay. This is my first night filming in our new space, which is mostly done. The parts that aren't done, you can't see. So, that works. I'm really excited about this new space because before, if you don't really know kind of how I was doing it, I was originally, obviously, we had the studio. So we weren't having to do this whole virtual experience. Thank you. I know I'm really excited about this space because you can't see right now because it's evening, but behind these curtains, there's this beautiful window that has a lot of light. So it will be really nice. And I can hopefully start adding in some more classes. I want to add in some vignettes during the day. So I think that will be really good because we'll have some nice natural lighting. So originally we had the studio, and then when we had to close the studio because of COVID, I moved everything from the studio into my basement. The thing about yoga is it's really hard to be in the dark. I find that I'm much more inspired and I enjoy teaching when there's a lot of light, which is how the studio was. There was a lot of light in the studio. So it was really kind of an inviting space to be in. And I felt like the basement was just not quite what I was hoping for. So we've transitioned into this space and kind of set everything up again. And I also added a new playlist for April. So if you haven't seen that, it is on Spotify. It is KatMula Wellness April 2021. And I shared it on our Facebook page. So feel free to check that out. What I do with these at-home practices is I really try to emulate the experience that we had in the studio. And it's really hard to do because it's more than just the yoga. It's an atmosphere, and we kind of also feed off each other's energy. And I feel like that's a really hard thing to emulate for an at-home practice. So by adding in these playlists, and then I also want to talk about the oils I'm using tonight, just so that you can sort of recreate these environments at home and try to make it similar to what we had when we were in the studio. Also, if you are a fan of following astrology at all, like I am, tonight is a new moon. So why is that important? Okay. So new moons are really significant for setting new intentions and also for sort of making affirmations. And in this one in particular, so it's new moon in Aries today, April 11th. And I'm just going to share this with you because I think it's a nice way to sort of start to set your intention for the class and start to kind of settle into the practice. And part of it is a mindset. It's not all about the movement, but it's also a mindset. So just so that you can start to get into your yoga mindset here. As Aries new moons go, this is an interesting one. On the one hand, it's basically in the same place at the same time as Venus, the planet of love and abundance. And that's a good thing. It suggests some kind of restart connected to love and abundance for us all. But especially for those who choose to tap into the new moon energy with a simple ritual or ceremony. So I know that rituals and ceremonies, those are like heavy words. What I want you to sort of think about is maybe what your intention or your affirmation can be for tonight. So maybe have the mindset of, this month I'm renewed. And maybe think about what your intention is for this month, what you want for this week, maybe what you even just want for today. So maybe you've been really stressed and you've been really sad or you've been sort of in a funk, because I feel like a lot of us have, and I feel like the weather today is not helpful. Sort of the gloomy gray skies are not helpful with us having that sort of positive mindset. So set an intention for yourself. Take this time to really settle into your practice. Try to check out of the thinking mind. Try to set an intention that you think will be beneficial for you to renew, restart, reset yourself for the week ahead. With that in mind, that this is a new moon, so it's a really great time, as energetically, it's a really great time to really focus on that, on whatever that is for you. So we're starting legs up the wall. And if you are going to follow along with the playlist, then go ahead and just start it now. You'll notice there's a trend here. I often start my playlists with something by Sacred Earth called Breathing Space, which I use because it's, I feel, an appropriate amount of time to really get into the breath work and sort of get yourself to check out of the thinking mind a little bit, because it's kind of a long intro, but it's also something that traditionally I've used a lot in the studio. And so for me, it definitely, and for anyone who came to practice at the studio, it definitely, it's almost nostalgic. So I do start a lot of the playlists with it because I think it's a really great sort of background for starting with your breath work. So go ahead and turn it on if you're going to follow along with the playlist or whatever you have in the background. And then also tonight, going along with those new moon intentions, I have my diffuser going over here with my lavender and my tangerine. I think when you're trying to refresh and renew, it's super helpful to use things that are calming and also citrusy, which is more energetic. It gives you a little bit of a boost. I like to use citrus oils in the morning, and I like to use them for new moon practices. And it just so happens that, so last week was Easter. So I think 2 weeks ago was the full moon practice. So we happen to have practices falling on these like really significant days that just so happen to be on our Sunday night practices, which is really nice. Thank you to Lisa. I'm really excited about the new space. And I know you can't see these in full right now, but Abby Wittridge actually did these paintings for me when I first had the studio, and I had them hanging up there. So every time I move my space, these paintings come along with me because they're sort of part of the whole yoga vibe for me. Okay. So one more thing. We are starting legs up the wall, but just one more thing. If you have, I'm using a strap tonight. I'm going to be bold. I haven't been doing this because in the studio, we had all the straps and I could provide those for you. But you can recreate this at home by using a belt or a tie or something that's kind of long and kind of gives you the ability to wrap it around and use it to help with some of these postures. So I know in the event page, I said to have a pillow and a blanket, which I think is really helpful in restorative practices for support and to just get more out of the postures. But also, if you can grab a tie or a belt or something that's long like this, we're going to use that tonight too. And if you don't have anything, you can just wing it. Like that's the great part of the at-home yoga practice is you can just make it your own. Just do what works for you. The reason I want to start legs up the wall is because, especially in a new moon practice, I think we need to flip over and reverse all that blood flow and really kind of start to calm the body and check out of the thinking mind. So if you have a wall nearby, then just push up against that wall. So your bottom's going to be right up against the wall, and you're going to extend the legs all the way up. So just up nice and straight. And maybe place the hands over your abdomen, or maybe you put one hand on the heart and one hand on the abdomen, or both hands on the abdomen. But when you're here, I think it's helpful to have your hands in a place where you can actually feel your breath as it goes in and out. So as simple as that seems, we take these really quick, shallow breaths all day, especially if we're anxious. So anxiety definitely causes us to be more tense, more clenched. So start to do a little check-in. Where are you holding on to tension today? And what is it that you can let go of? Maybe it's in your shoulders. Maybe it's the thinking mind that's got you sort of in your head. That's definitely been me this week. I think overthinking, overanalyzing things has been a downfall for me this week. So use this practice to self-correct. Use this practice to start off your week on a different note. And as you're breathing in, by having your hands in this place where you can tangibly feel the inhale and the exhale, start to notice it. Where is your breath going? Our playlist that I shared tonight is all about renewal, starting over, which is what this new moon is for us. It's a new month. It's a new season. It's a new moon. So use all of that energy to your advantage and start over today. Let go of the stuff that's been holding you back. Let go of the stuff that's been clogging your mind. Whatever is on your to-do list, whatever craziness you have coming up this week, that's not important right now. That's not going to change in the next hour that we practice together. So see if you can really tune into your body. Now is a great time to do a little body scan. So starting with your tips of your toes, maybe wiggle your toes. Start to just rotate the ankles a little bit, keeping the legs on the wall. We're not moving anything. We're not going anywhere yet. We're just here, being in the present moment, breathing. And as you start to notice your breath, notice if it's shallow and quick, and see if you can slow it down. If your shoulders are up by your ears, see if you can just bring them down and back onto the floor so that you feel like you're nice and flush on the floor. And let go of whatever tension, wherever you're holding on to things. Let everything get heavy. Let the floor support you. Let the ground support you. And by having our legs up the wall, we're reversing all of that blood flow and sending it back up. We're on our feet all day, doing whatever we're doing. So it's just a nice opportunity to flip that around. I definitely notice when we don't meet for our Sunday night restorative practice. So last week was Easter, and I didn't have a class. So This week, I noticed the difference. And maybe you did too if you've been coming regularly. If you're someone who comes every week for our Sunday night practice, maybe you noticed a difference this week not having done this practice. And I think that's also important because then it becomes very clear what the practice is doing for you. Because even if this is the only time that you spend resetting and really giving yourself that hour of self care, it's still an hour that you're getting that maybe you didn't get last week. So let's make the most of it this week. And really start to deepen, lengthen the inhale, and feel where it goes. So as you inhale, follow it down into the abdomen, feel it expand, feel your rib cage expand, your abdomen expand, and then maybe you hold it there at the top. And then take in just a little bit more. And then exhale slow and long. Maybe open your mouth and really let it be an audible exhale. And just give yourself that imagery. Imagine that you're just letting go of all the stuff. Whatever you've been carrying around with you, whatever has been making you feel stressed, just let it go. In this new moon, we're going to start over and reset ourselves. And it's a really good new moon, right? Love and abundance. Like, who doesn't want that? We all need love. We all need to take care of our bodies. And more importantly, we need to take care of our minds. We need to have this time to reset and clear the slate from whatever happened last week or last month. See if you can just let that go. Really focus on the breath. It can be really helpful to use a count. So maybe you count to 6 or 8 as you inhale. Hold the top of the inhale. And then let it go. Really slow, really long exhale. Maybe open your mouth and sigh it out. You can even try an Ujjayi breath, which is giving that audible sound as you breathe out. So almost like you're blowing the fog on a mirror, but without the mouth being open. So sort of like a deep exhale. So that's another breath you can play with and try. And I can go over that more, maybe in another video. So for now, if that's complicated, just breathe. It doesn't really matter how you breathe, but just try to slow down the breath, which in turn will bring down your heart rate. It will start to calm the body. It will start to slow those racing thoughts and calm the thinking mind. It's amazing how much we really do have control over our thoughts and our reactions to things if we take the time to slow it down. So that's what this practice is all about. And again, start to notice, where are you holding on to tension today? And wherever that is, those are the places you need to tune into. Those are the places where you need to take a little more time and breathe into those spaces that are tight as we get into the movement. So, this is your time to just do a little self check. So, we're going to take 2 or 3 more really big, deep inhales and exhales here with the legs just straight up the wall. And as you're exhaling, maybe even give yourself that imagery of just letting go of the stuff. Just imagine, like, whatever that is for you. It's different for everyone. But trust me, I have a lot of stuff to let go of this week. It has been a week. So I'm right there with you. I'm all about the new moon tonight. On your next exhale, we'll extend. So we're going to keep the legs up on the wall, but just extend them out, making a V here. And really make it as deep as you can without it being uncomfortable. So we're looking to get a nice stretch here in the inner thighs. So really let the legs be generous. Let the legs come out as far as you can up on that wall. So you're getting a nice stretch there in the inner thigh and groin area. Keeping with the breath, keeping with those really deep inhales and exhales. And maybe you're here. Maybe your legs are not coming all the way out. So work with your body, work with where you're at tonight. That's another thing that's really important in the yoga practice is meeting yourself where you're at. Don't overextend, don't push it. Find your edge. So wherever that place is where you feel the stretch, but it's not painful, that's what you're looking for. And with your legs out in this V, again, start to wiggle the toes, rotate the ankles. Try not to hold your breath. The tendency when we get into positions where you're trying to hold things, like maybe here, is to hold your breath. So try to use the breath as a tool. And as you exhale, maybe the legs can come out a little further. Maybe you can get just a little bit more space than where you had before. We're going to take 2 more inhales and exhales here on your own breath. Really big, deep inhale. Maybe hold it at the top. Take in just a little bit more. Exhale. Nice and slow. And one more. Inhale. Really big, deep breath. Exhale again. Nice and slow. Slowing things down. And then you can take your hands to the sides of your thighs and just guide those legs all the way back up. Bring the knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze here. And then you can roll over to one side or the other, whichever way feels good, wherever you have some space. Maybe push off the wall a little first if you're up really close to the wall. And we're going to meet on hands and knees, tabletop position. Just going to make sure my mic is on. I have a tendency to like click it off when I'm moving, so I'm going to check it a few times neurotically because that's what I do. So, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Your back is one long straight line from the top of your head all the way down to your tailbone. You're imagining that you're a table, almost as if you could balance something on your back. You're nice and straight here. And then on the inhale, drop the belly. Chin comes up, tailbone comes up. Really exaggerate this. So really, really dip down on that inhale. Big stretch. Exhale, round it out. Chin comes in, tuck it into the chest, round out the spine, tailbone tucks down. Cat-cow. Inhale, drop the belly. Chin comes up, tailbone comes up. Exhale, round out. One of the most therapeutic poses that we do, I think. I think everyone should do cat-cow every day. If you don't do any other exercise or any other yoga, get on the floor and do some cat-cows every day. So good. And again, using the breath as a tool. So as you inhale, you're really dipping that belly down so that navel is reaching down toward the mat. Tailbone is coming up. Chin is coming up. Really exaggerate this. Exhale, round it out. Tuck that chin in. Round out the spine. Maybe move a little in this. Make it organic. Find those places that are tight. Breathe into those spaces. Inhale. Drop the belly. Exhale, round it out. So we'll add some movement in now. As you inhale, drop that right hip toward your right heel. So coming down toward the right, rounding around over your feet. Exhale, come up toward the left. So we're making some circles here. And maybe close your eyes. You're home, right? So you don't have to worry about people looking at you or, feeling nervous about how you appear. Close your eyes and just feel it as you move. Inhale, you're coming back toward the right. Exhale, over to the left, bring it forward. So make a little rhythmic movement here. And you might notice one hip is tighter than the other. And if that's the case, maybe you hang out there. So maybe you get back toward that right heel and you notice that things are really tight here. So maybe you hang out here and breathe into that space. Again, really important, keeping with that cycle of breathing and using the breath as a tool here. Inhale, bring it back toward the right. Exhale, round over toward the left, come forward. Now we're going to switch. So switch sides. Inhale, come back toward the left. Round toward the right, come forward. Just starting to wake up the hips a little here. Don't worry, we're going to wake up the hips a lot more than this, but this is a nice way to start. Coming back to hands and knees, tabletop position. So first, just to review, you want to make sure that you have a good base here. So keeping the fingers spread apart wide so that you feel like you have a nice base here. This is a really important foundational pose for a lot of other poses that we go into. So you can test it here. Tuck the toes, push down into the palms, and then push up into downward facing dog. Just see how you feel. So to check your down dog, you can drop the knees and then drop the belly onto the knees. So you're bending the knees, drop the belly onto the knees, and then straighten your legs. See how you feel. This is your down dog. So we're going to breathe here in down dog for a minute. Usually I start right in with pedaling it out, but take a moment here to just notice how you feel in the stillness. And notice where things are tight, where things are sore, how you feel. Flipped over in this inversion. Again, we're reversing all that blood flow. And now maybe start to pedal it out. So bend one knee, extend the opposite leg. And then switch sides. Using the breath as a tool, notice where it feels tight. Notice where you're feeling that. Is it in your hamstrings? Is it in the back of your thigh? But breathe into those spaces that are tight and sore. And then maybe come up onto the toes so you're getting a little stretch in the back of the feet, bending the front of the feet over the toes a little. And again, continue to pedal it out here. And then when you're ready, we're going to walk forward with intention. So one foot in front of the other, stretching behind the legs here, and taking a nice generous forward fold at the top of your mat. So just to review, you don't have to be hyperextended in the back of the legs here. You can have a little micro bend in the knees and then drop forward. The idea is to get that release in the lower back, a little bit of a stretch in the backs of the thighs, and let the head get really heavy. This is restorative, so we're not rushing through these postures. We're not moving through them quickly, but we're really letting our bodies settle into them. And maybe you make ragdoll arms here. So grabbing opposite elbows, shake your head yes, shake your head no. And if you've got a lot of flexibility here, you can play with putting your hands on the mat, or you can put your wrists, your hands underneath your feet, and your wrists are right where your toes are. And you can give yourself a little massage here on the backs of your hands. And maybe you're nowhere near there, and that's fine. Work with where you are at today. Take what you need. But again, we're not rushing to get out of this, but letting our bodies really settle into it. So In restorative practices and also in yin yoga, the idea is to use the breath as a tool and stay in the poses a little bit longer so that you really give the muscles and the body the opportunity to relax into the posture. So, as much as you're wanting to get out of it, that's all the more reason to settle into it, get heavier. As you exhale, can you get a little lower? Can you get a little bit more of a stretch in the backs of the legs? And if you're peeking up at the screen right now, we're still here. We're still breathing. We're going to take a little longer here in our forward fold because I think this is really beneficial for getting some tension out of the lower back and shoulders. And do a little body scan here. Is there anywhere else as you're in here, your forward fold here? Is there anywhere else that you're holding this? Can you get heavier? Can you get a little looser? I'll be honest, it takes most people about halfway into the practice before you've really loosened up and let yourself settle in. In the beginning, we're all kind of stiff and rigid and holding things. So use this opportunity as we spend more time in some of these postures to really let things get a little looser, a little heavier. One more really big inhale, really big exhale, let it all go. And then plant the hands, step the feet back into plank. So in your plank, you want to feel like you're, again, one long straight line. So you're not dipping, you're not curving, you're one straight line. And it can be very challenging to hold a plank. So use your breath as a tool here. Concentrate on the breath. You might get a little shake, a little burn. That's good. That means it's working. It's firing things up. Really tuck that navel up into the spine. And we're here for 5, 4, 3, 2. Push it up back into your downward facing dog. You may need to adjust the hands a little depending on your body and your height. Exhale. Keeping with those really long inhales and exhales. One more big breath here. Big exhale, maybe sigh it out. And then we're pushing forward again, back into your plank. Just getting things warmed up a little. So again, hold your plank, breathe here, keeping everything nice and tight, zipping it all up. It's a full body experience here, keeping the neck long. One more big breath here. And then exhale, push it up, downward facing dog. And then come back to pedaling it out again here. You're probably starting to feel a little looser. When you're ready, from your downward facing dog, kick that right leg all the way up behind you. And maybe open the hips. So kick that foot toward the opposite wall. And try to keep the weight evenly distributed between both palms so you're not dumping all the weight onto the left. Breathe. Maybe wiggle the foot, rotate the ankle. One more big breath. And then exhale, right foot comes down. Switching sides. So take a breath. And then when you're ready, this time, left leg is kicking all the way up toward the ceiling and then open the hip. So kicking that foot toward the opposite wall, keeping the weight evenly distributed between both palms. So you're not dumping all the weight onto one side, but again, using all of your muscles, your whole body. One more big breath here. And then exhale. Left leg comes down. Bring the knees as wide as the yoga mat and then sink all the way back into your child's pose. And you can take your child's pose whatever way feels restorative to you. So that might be reaching the fingertips all the way toward the front of the mat and really stretching the arms out. That might be making a little pillow with your forearms and resting your forehead, that third eye on your arms. Or that might be coming all the way down with your forehead, your third eye on the yoga mat, and extending the arms out toward your feet. So whatever version of child's pose feels good to you, we're going to take a little time here to let the heart rate come down. Come back to the breath. Come back to your intention, whatever intention you set for yourself. And if the intention is a struggle, sometimes it is. I encourage you to think about what brought you to the mat today. Why are you here? What prompted you to show up? And make that your intention. We all have stuff, right? Like we all have it. So this is your opportunity to start to let go of some of the stuff so that you can make room for whatever is coming. Sink your tailbone back toward your feet. Really get heavy. So again, sometimes we get into these poses and we're just kind of holding things. So here in your child's pose, now that we've moved a little, see if you can come back to the really deep, long inhales and exhales that we started with, and maybe take notice of how it feels different from when you were lying on your back with your legs at the wall. When you're taking those really big, deep inhales here, In your child's pose, notice where it goes. Feel the rib cage expand. Feel the abdomen expand. And maybe you notice this time because we're flipped over, we're not lying on our backs right now. Maybe you notice a difference. Maybe you feel that expansion in the back of your rib cage this time. This time that we give ourselves this mindful movement, and even more important, the stillness is so important. So you should feel a little looser, a little warmer. Your heart rate should be calming from our movement. And that's a big part of it too, right? We get that heart rate up and then we bring it back down. And if you find that your mind starts to wander again, you can come back to that tangible breath, that feeling that you feel as you breathe in and noticing where it goes. Or come back to the intention that you've set for yourself. And if the thoughts, the stuff creeps in, that's fine. That's normal. So you acknowledge it and then just put it away for later. Make your little imaginary to-do list and then tuck it away. Deal with it later. And you might find that you look at things differently after your practice. So we're going to take 2 more inhales and exhales here. Make them count. Make them the biggest, deepest inhales and exhales that you've taken all day. And that's sometimes the most challenging part is the breath, not the movement. The breath and the stillness. Okay. When you're ready, we're going to meet back up on our hands and knees, tabletop position. We're going to take a little hip rotation here. I know you guys love this, so that's why I keep doing it. So find your balance. Find that foundation, spread the fingers, make yourself a nice base, a nice platform here to work with. And then when you feel ready, we're lifting, starting with the left side. We're lifting that left knee up and out, keeping the foot flexed. Start to make some circles with that leg. It's not easy. Try not to dump all the weight onto the right. Use your breath. Maybe inhale up, exhale down. When you're ready, switch, rotate the opposite way. And then bring that knee back down. Find your balance, find your foundation, and then switching sides, lift that right knee out to the side, keeping the foot flexed. Start to rotate. Again, being mindful we're not dumping all the weight on the left now, but keeping it evenly distributed using the core. It's a challenge, it is. And then switch, reverse your rotation the opposite way. And bring that knee back down. Again, finding your foundation, finding your balance. And then inhale, reach the right arm all the way up toward the ceiling. Really reach, reach, reach as if you're going to grab something off the ceiling. Maybe rotate the wrist, flex the fingers, waking everything up. All those places we don't pay attention to. And then exhale, thread the needle. Right arm comes underneath the left. Come all the way down. Resting on your right ear here. And then you're reaching that left arm all the way up. And again, this is one of those places where you have to let yourself settle in. So find your sweet spot and then get heavy. So don't hold it, but really let yourself get heavy here. Being mindful of those really big inhales and exhales here. And as you exhale, can you reach those fingertips toward the front of the mat just a little more? Can you get a little heavier? When you're ready to come out, using that left hand, you're going to push into the left palm and then reach that right arm all the way back up again. So you're giving that little counter stretch here. And then maybe make some big circles with your arm here. And reverse, go the other way. Loosening up that shoulder. And then come back to your tabletop again. Set yourself up, switching to the other side. Left arm reaches all the way up. Reach, reach, reach. As if you're going to grab something off that ceiling. Really reach. And then exhale. Oh, so before you come down, just wiggle the fingers, rotate the wrist. Really wake everything up here. And then exhale. Thread the needle under the right arm this time, resting onto your left ear and reaching that right arm all the way up toward the front of the mat. And then settle in. So really letting yourself get heavy, using your breath, and then your body weight is just settling in, deepening the stretch on the left shoulder. And as you exhale, maybe you reach those fingertips a little further toward the front of the mat. And again, this is one of those postures that we tend to hold. So try to sort of relax into it. If you feel like you're holding this, get heavy. As you exhale, can you get a little heavier? Taking 2 more really big breaths here. And then when you're ready to come out, we use that right arm pushing into the right palm and then push all the way up, reaching that left arm all the way up toward the ceiling again, just to get that counter stretch. And then come back to your tabletop position. We're going to push all the way back up, downward facing dog. We're setting up for pigeon. So if you do have props that you use typically for pigeon, then grab that. I like to put a bolster right where my head is. So right at the front. An option here to take a figure 4 if pigeon is not for you. So I'll just show you that real quick just in case there's anyone who's not super familiar with that pose. So it's another way to get at the hip flexors without overstretching, I guess just with having a little more control. So if you'd rather do figure 4, come all the way down onto your back, which is where we will be going. And keeping the knees pointed toward the ceiling, you'll cross one leg over the opposite knee, interlace the hands behind the thigh, and then you're pushing so if you're starting with the right, you're pushing the right knee away as you pull the left thigh in, which gets that nice deep stretch in the right hip flexor, but you have control over it. You can figure out where it feels good to you. So if pigeon is not for you, that's your alternative option tonight. And if you're coming into pigeon, then meet me back in downward facing dog. And we'll start with the right. So we'll kick that right leg all the way up. Again, open the hips. So kick that foot toward the opposite wall, keeping the weight evenly distributed between both palms. And then exhale, knee comes down between the palms. And that left leg is extending all the way out toward the end of the yoga mat. And then make all your little adjustments because we're going to stay here for a few breaths and let it do its magic. So try to get that leg that right leg where you feel that stretch your edge, but it's not painful. And that left leg is reaching all the way out behind you. And then we find our upright pigeon first. So we're going to roll the shoulders back, puff the chest out, almost as if you're a proud pigeon. Lift the chin. Take a breath here. And then exhale, come all the way down. Onto your props, onto your forearms. It might feel good to you to just get really low tonight. So again, take what you need, but find a place where you can settle in. This is an intense posture, but it also takes time for it to do what it needs to do. So we have to be here, breathing. And as we stay here breathing, as we settle, those muscles start to relax. And you'll find that you start to get just a little more space. And every time you practice, you'll get a little more and a little more. So as you exhale, can you creep that left leg back just a little more? Or maybe you can scooch that right foot up toward the front of the mat just a little more. And you'll know when you get there. And when you find that place, your edge, where it's not painful, but there's definitely a stretch, then breathe into that space. And this is a nice opportunity again to focus on the breath and come back to those really big, long, deep inhales and exhales that we started with. So maybe you come back to a count of 6 or 8 as you breathe in. Maybe you hold your breath at the top of the inhale and take in just a little bit more, and then exhale. Maybe open your mouth. Make it an audible exhale. Letting go. Making space. Because we can't make space, we can't make room for all the good stuff, for that abundance coming with that new moon if we don't let go of the old, right? You have to let it go. So whatever it is, whatever you're still holding on to, can you let it go? Can you start to relax into this just a little more? So take one more really big inhale, really big, really slow. Fill it up as much as you can. Hold it at the top. Exhale. And then on your next inhale, we'll come up. So pushing down into the palms, roll the shoulders back, find your upright version first. And then to come out, tuck the toes on the left side, push down into the palms and kick that right leg all the way up. Open that hip again. Then let that leg come back down, finding your downward facing dog again. And if you're in figure four, we're switching sides now. So kick that left leg all the way up in figure four. You can switch over to the left, open the hip. Breathe. And then exhale. Knee comes down between the palms and take the time to set yourself up. So right leg extends all the way back toward the back end of the yoga mat. Left foot is coming up toward the front as far as you can go where it feels okay, where you feel that edge, but it shouldn't be painful. You should just feel a nice stretch in that hip flexor. So finding that upright pigeon first. So roll the shoulders back, puff that chest out, open up that heart chakra, making a room for all that love and abundance that's coming with this new moon. Lift the chin. And then exhale, bring it down. And breathe. So I know that sounds simple when I say and breathe, but using your breath as a tool so as you exhale, can you creep that right leg back a little bit further? Can you bring that left foot up just a little bit further, making space? And settle in. Let yourself get heavy. Try not to hold this. That's really how it works. Coming back to those really deep inhales and exhales. Coming back to your intention. And try not to focus on when are we getting out of this and whatever you're feeling, but more on your breath and making space and settling in. That's really how restorative yoga does its magical work, is by allowing your body to really settle into these postures and restore. Fill your cup. I don't know about you, but I notice it when I don't practice. My body is angry without the yoga. So use this time, fill your cup. We're going to take 2 more really deep inhales and exhales here on your left side. So make it count as you exhale, sigh it out. And I went a little long tonight, I noticed. So that's okay. We needed it. When you're complete, inhale, push into the palms, come back into your upright version of this. Lift the chin, push down into the palms, tuck the toes on the right side, come all the way back up, kick that left leg up, open the hip. And bring that leg all the way back down. You can bring the knees all the way down as wide as the yoga mat. Sink back. So cross the ankles, sink back onto your feet, and then just make your way onto your back. We're going to end with a little bit of strap work tonight. So if you have a belt, a tie, whatever you have, or just wing it. But we're just going to work on getting a little bit more space. And I haven't attempted to do this since we were at the studio. So I thought, hey, what the heck? Let's go for it. So whatever you're using as a strap, you're going to find the middle of it and ball of your foot on the right side. So taking the time first, settle in. Shoulder blades are flat against the yoga mat. Your left knee is pointed up toward the ceiling. Foot is flat on the floor. And then once you find that positioning, you can extend the left leg all the way out. So you're going to grab the strap in your left hand, right arm comes down to the floor, and then you're guiding that right leg all the way out toward the side, but then also slightly up toward the shoulder. So keeping the left foot flexed, almost imagining as if you're standing on your left foot. So to give you an idea of where we're going here, I'll take my strap off. If you have the ability to do this, depending on your flexibility, you can make a yoga toe lock. So peace fingers around the big toe and extend that right leg all the way out to the side, imagining that you're standing on that left foot. And you may be nowhere near this, and that's totally fine. That's why we're doing this. So that's why we use the strap or the support of some sort to just give you the opportunity to start to get into that space. And as you exhale, can you get a little more space without that left shoulder, the left side of the body coming up, keeping it flat on the yoga mat, just getting a little more space in that right hip area. One more big breath here. Big exhale. And then when you're ready, you're going to bring that leg all the way back up to center. Take the strap off. Bring the knee in and then just take a couple little circles here, just loosening it up. And then we're going to switch sides. So bring that foot to the floor first. Knee pointed toward the ceiling. Give yourself a little shimmy. Straighten yourself out on the mat. Get your strap or your belt or whatever you're using onto the left side now around the ball of the left foot. And you're holding on to the strap here in your right hand. Left arm comes down on the floor. And then when you find your position, extend that right leg all the way down, flexing that right foot, imagining that you're standing on that right foot. And then you're going to let that left leg fall all the way over toward the left as far as it will go. And as you exhale, can you get a little more space again, not just guiding it over, but slightly up toward your shoulder? It's kind of amazing, actually, to me sometimes. The difference I feel in the beginning of the practice versus when we're winding down, it just reminds me of why the practice is so important. And we always feel like we don't have the time, right? We're too busy. We don't have time for this. But make the time. It's so beneficial. The physiological effect that it has on your body, on your mental health. So, one more really big inhale, one more really long, deep exhale. And then guide that leg all the way back up to center. And you can release the strap, bring that knee in, give yourself a couple circles here, just loosening it up. And then bring both knees in. Give yourself a squeeze here. Give yourself a big hug, actually. And give yourself like a little bit of props for getting through the week, showing up to your mat, giving yourself this time. And then we'll rock and roll a couple times just to get into that spine. Go for 3. Come all the way up. And then grab your prop, your pillow, your blanket, your bolster, whatever you have. We're going to end tonight in a nice supported, open, receiving posture. So sit right up against the back of the pillow, the blanket, the bolster, whatever it is. It's going to line up with your spine. You're going to bring the soles of the feet together. And then let yourself just fall or lean back onto the bolster. So the bolster, the pillow, the blanket, whatever you're using is supporting your back here. And it really enhances the heart opener aspect of this posture. And that's what we want here with this new moon, right? We want to be receiving. We want to be open to it. So if we were in the studio, this is how I would end in our Shavasana. Maybe take some time here. Let yourself settle in. And do another little body scan here. Where is the tension that's still hanging out? Where are you still holding on to stuff? And can you use this last posture as a way to just get really heavy and let go of whatever little bit you're still holding on to? And again, coming back to the breath, coming back to the intention that we started with today. So, new beginnings this week, making space, making room, being open, being receiving to this energy that the new moon brings. And I invite you to stay here for a few minutes. I just want to share a little bit more of this reading about the new moon as you settle in here to your Shavasana, your resting pose for the end of our practice. The new moon in Aries is a wonderful time to tune into goddess energy. Use your rising sign to get to know the goddess who guides you from this list by the amazing Dr. Glynis Livingstone. So, if you want to find out a little bit more about what this new moon means for you, I can share that with you. Just send me a message because it's based on your astrological sign. But my reminder here is that Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So this new moon marks the start of the new astrological year. So that's really cool if you think about it. It really is all about new beginnings, not being stuck. So hopefully this practice helped you to get a little unstuck if you felt stuck. I definitely felt stuck. Definitely feel free to send me a message if you want to know a little bit more about what the new moon means for your astrological sign. I think it's really interesting. I'm really interested in it, and I'm happy to share. So you can feel free to stay here in your Shavasana for a little bit longer. If you're feeling nice and calm and settled, then stay with that. Otherwise, we'll close out the practice bringing the thumbs to the heart center. The light in me honors the light in all of you. Thank you for sharing your practice with me tonight. Namaste.